Hi, Leonard here. By the time you're watching this video, it's probably coming close to Chinese New Year, and so Happy Chinese New Year! 恭喜发财，新年快乐! That's the best of my Chinese, don't expect more. The thing I dread about Chinese New Year is that there's this elaborate dinners and we always start with this salad dish called Yee Sang or LoHei. Or basically, it's in English, it basically means prosperity toss, where you toss some vegetables and raw fish in a sweet plum-based dressing. It's highly processed, there's a lot of processed food in that salad itself, and I just dread it. But from a culinary standpoint, I was thinking if we could actually elevate Yee Sang or the dish, the salad dish, to a level whereby I'd be willing to pay top dollar for it. And so for today's video, we are trying to make a standard store-bought Yee Sang packet and elevating it to a point whereby it's an extremely delicious salad. So the first thing I did was to get a store-bought packet of Yee Sang. And so I went to the nearest supermarket near my office and I got this 28 ringgit pack of Yee Sang, which includes plethora of certain processed ingredients. There was the pickled vegetables, some ginger, some mandarin peel, and some other stuff like pickled shallots and stuff like that. And we tasted one after another. Pretty good actually. Quite nice. A little taste. Oh, it's the ginger. Nah, I don't know. At the end of the day, we kept the pok tui and I think 3 ingredients. We had the pickled ginger, the fresh ginger, and the pickled citrus skin, and a few other garnishes with the sauce. Now the sauce is extremely sweet and we're going to change that up as we move along. Now the other component about Yee Sang that is absolutely horrendously done is the pathetic amount of fish. So they give you really thin slices, and I can't stress how thin it is. To the point it's just non-existent really. And everyone in a dining table of 10 people trying to fight for 5 freaking pieces of salmon. So, long story short, get good quality sashimi grade salmon or any raw fish you prefer. If you don't like raw fish, use smoked salmon, that works perfectly fine too. Normally with those Japanese shops that give sashimi, they also come with the pickled ginger, and that is perfectly fine to add on to our Yee Sang as well. Now one thing that's really missing in Yee Sang is that freshness, that nice crispy vegetables. So you can actually use whatever vegetables you have left over as long as they can be firm, they can take on a dressing, and they're well in a way crunchy and crispy. So the vegetables that I had on hand was some daikon radish, some carrots, some spring onion, some celery. We had red cabbage as well, and we also had iceberg lettuce and also a bit of cucumber as well. The really key thing about doing this then is just prepping the vegetables. And so there's a few techniques that we can employ here, right? Now the first thing we can do, things like the carrot or the daikon, and the cucumber, you can use a peeler and get really nice thin ribbons. And then for some of them, you can just stack them up like the carrots and slice them vertically to get really nice needle-like cuts or julienne. And so for softer vegetables like the daikon radish and the cucumber, for example, you can actually take those ribbons and roll them up into a nice fat bundle and slice them accordingly, and you get really nice long strips or long needles of vegetables at the end of the day. For things like the celery, the cabbage, or the iceberg lettuce, you just want to lay them flat as possible and then slice them one way, and if they're still quite thick or quite, well, wide, you can slice them one more time to get those really fine needle-like length. Now the other thing you can also do for vegetables like the spring onion, the daikon radish, the cucumber, they all benefit from an ice bath soak. So if you can take a bit of time, get an ice bath ready, just dunking those vegetables in for about 30 seconds or so and taking them out, they get really nice and crispy as well. Now the other component in a good Yee Sang, in my opinion, is to have a bit of sweetness from fruits as well. What I had lying around was mandarin oranges. They're really sweet and really plump and juicy. So what we did first and foremost with all our citrus, we had both mandarin oranges and lime, we kind of zested them first, and that contains a lot of aromatic oils that we will flavor the final sauce later. And so once my citrus are zested, I'm going to kind of cut them up, tip and tail the mandarin orange, and then slice the skin away, and then segment the oranges out. That way you get a much more cleaner bite as an eating experience, and I think it looks much better at the end of the day as well. Now, with the remaining pulp that you have from the mandarin oranges, we squeeze that into the zest of both the lime and the mandarin oranges, and that will be the base for our sauce later on. So speaking about the sauce, right, we have the zest, we have the mandarin orange juice. I'm also going to be adding lime juice into it as well. The problem with the sauce that we tasted from the Yee Sang pack was that it was extremely sweet. So we need to cut that down with a bit of acid. And the idea here is really to think and treat the dish almost like a ceviche. A dressing that would be good for a ceviche would be a good dressing for Yee Sang. So in the bowl with the zest and the mandarin orange and lime juice, I'm going to add the plum sauce that comes with the Yee Sang pack. Just about 2/3 and have a taste as you go. For this particular version, we added a bit more lime at the end because it just wasn't sour enough. But once we've added that, it tasted really good. Once you have your vegetables prepped, your fish is prepped, your sauce is prepped, and everything else from the packet is on standby, you can basically assemble and serve your Yee Sang. So there's really no hard and fast rule about plating your Yee Sang. At the end of the day, you just want all the vegetables there and people will just toss it basically, right? But for the sake of plating it nicely, the idea here that I employed was to plate it in the middle with the red cabbage and going around that red cabbage as the epicenter of everything else. So all my other vegetables was on the side, and then later on I kind of added on a bit more red cabbage in the middle to give it a bit of height for the fish. I had the pickled vegetables from the original Yee Sang pack there as well, 3 of them, the ginger, the pickled ginger, as well as the citrus peel as well. So those were all there. And then I added nice big pieces of salmon on the top. And then I added on some of my garnishes, my spring onion, the seeds, the sesame seeds, the groundnut that came with the pack, some of the dried mandarin orange that came with the pack as well. And then last but not least, we kind of just add on the mandarin oranges segments around the dish to kind of make it a bit pretty in terms of colors. And then we dress with the sauce. And so what came next was me awkward tossing the Yee Sang and then serving it into a small plate. And that's basically how you serve Yee Sang. Never have I, in my life, ever tasted Yee Sang this good.
Yeah, it's actually fucking good. I'm really enjoying this.
So there's a couple of things I've realized from making this Yee Sang at home. You know, it's really surprising to me that Yee Sang can be really that tasty actually, because like a lot of them in the restaurants are just horrible. All you gotta do to make fantastic Yee Sang at home is get a standard pack of Yee Sang, discard those foul-smelling packet of vegetables that you don't really like, or at least that I don't really like. Keep those that are really good. The pork tui is very important. The sauce is fine. The dried mandarin oranges skin, it's delicious. And get some really good fresh vegetables. Slice them really thinly. If you can't slice them that thin, use a mandolin with care or use a food processor with a mandolin attachment. One of the other things that's really important is to get really good thick pieces of sashimi or salmon or whatever fish you want, or scallops if you're feeling bougie. And that really elevates the whole Yee Sang platter. Now, for the sauce, all you gotta do is just thin it down with some citrus. It could be vinegar, it could be citrus juice like what we did. If you're using citrus, that zest is absolutely key to making the dish just really brighten up and really perfumed and aromatic. And you know what? In the spirit of Chinese New Year, I think everybody should do this at home, because guess what? You can get people to actually cut the vegetables, prep the sauce, prep the fish. It brings people together, and it, I think, makes the whole dish much more meaningful. So I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something about Yee Sang as much as I have. I hope this video inspires some of you to actually make Yee Sang at home this Chinese New Year. To those of you who are celebrating, Happy Chinese New Year, 新年快乐，恭喜发财，恭喜发财，恭喜发财，大吉大利, and what else do I need to say? 年年有余。